How about a story? Ah, it's called The Story of My Name. This is the story of how I got my name. So, my mom was married, happily married, to her best friend, and they had tried making a baby several times, but each time it failed. So, you can imagine a lot of disappointment and confusion. And eventually, they did get a divorce after about a decade. And so, eventually, then my mom had met my dad, and she had told him, I don't want to have a baby, in light of everything that's happened, and not really trusting that it would be possible. But they did try. They tried a few times, and it still wasn't successful. And so they had turned to my grandfather, my mother's father, and he had prayed for them. And guess what? This time, when they tried to make a baby, it worked. So, as you can see, the making of the baby is now getting to a place where it's solid. And boop, she's in the belly. Woo! And now it's the year 2000. She's crossed over, and there's gratitude for the fact that they hoped for a baby and they got one. It is officially block 2, and in our first week of the block, we were basically uncovering the importance of telling your own stories. Storytelling, even though it can be realistic or nonfiction, does include some element of metaphor. So even if you are enacting the biography of someone's life, there are themes and symbols that can be translated to a completely different story or a completely different person's experience. From my understanding, the use of storytelling addresses 3 main areas. 1, it helps the audience or performer heal. 2, it helps educate, whether that's general information or academically. So if you're putting on a play and there are 3 sisters and you want to highlight that in terms of numeracy, you would ask the audience to count with you. First sister, second sister, or third, or however you want to do it. And the third thing is in terms of instilling values. So even if it's not explicit, but in the way the story unfolds and how the problem gets solved, for example, the audience then gets the opportunity to see, oh, tolerance is important, or oh, judging people is bad. And Burns says something very interesting that can often go over our heads. He says when children share their own stories or tell their own stories, they are more likely to accept and use the message of their stories, rather than one that is seen as being imposed by an adult. Also, through telling their own stories, they get to apply their own critical thinking and develop problem solving in solving their own problems. And it obviously helps if there's an adult there to say, oh, that's a good idea, or maybe consider this. But ultimately, there's a sense of autonomy that the learner then develops that doesn't stick to just the literary sense, but it also extends to their lived experience outside of storytelling and performing and writing. So Nabiha and I ended up being in a group with Zainab and Mijwan. And we ended up using Zainab's story, or the story of Zainab's name, to tell a new story. The feedback was invaluable. We learned about the importance of introducing song and having a song that is related to the story that helps the learners follow along. Another really sweet piece of feedback we got was in our play, Nabiha was a radio presenter talking about the story of Muhammad's daughter named Zainab. And she was just speaking like this, like this, like this. And the feedback that Dr. Lepera gave her was that instead of being a person or a presenter, Nabiha could actually be the radio itself, glitching. Contrasted with when Zainab touches her a few seeds later with her golden thumb, now she's speaking eloquently and she's flowing, you know? So in the classroom, now I can apply that in terms of giving an ordinary lesson about English or about maths or about science, but being aware of my body language and how I'm delivering this information to my learners.